My name is Rod Fong, and I am the chair of the Calgary Police Commission. It is my pleasure to be able to tell you that the Police Commission has completed its search. We have provided our recommendation to City Council, and as of 1.5 hours ago, City Council ratified our recommendation, and I'd like to thank them for that, for their careful consideration of our recommendation. I see with us we have Councillor Ward Sutherland and Commissioner on our commission, Councillor Shane Keating, Councillor Joe Maglioka, Councillor Richard Pootmans, Councillor Jim Stevenson, and of course His Worship Mayor Nenshi. So thank you again for supporting us. I'll begin today by telling you about the search process and who the successful candidate is. Next, Mayor Nenshi will speak, and then we'll invite the new chief to speak, and after that, we'll all be able to take any questions you might have of us. A brief recap of the timeline. On February 25th, former Chief Rick Hansen retired. On March 13th, Paul Cook was appointed as our interim chief, and he's done an outstanding job. The commission put in place a personnel committee consisting of 5 of the 10 members of the commission, and using the City of Calgary procurement process, retained the services of Boyden Global to assist us in the search. Boyden's done great work for us. They were officially retained on May 14th. The search was thorough and exhaustive. Meetings were held with civic leaders, including councillors and the mayor, community leaders, and the opportunity was provided to each and every member of the Calgary Police Service to have input on their next leader. Boyden consulted with nearly 700 Calgarians on our behalf. We had interest from leaders in policing from across Canada. The interview process took place over the last 2 weeks of September, from September 17th to 28th. And I can tell you that we had a number of strong candidates, and we were impressed with each and every one of them. However, we could only choose one person to be the next chief, and after much consideration, it was the unanimous decision of the Personnel Committee to recommend Deputy Chief Roger Chaffin to be our next Chief of Police. On September 25th, the Commission met, and it was the unanimous decision of the Commissioners present to put forward our recommendation to City Council for its ratification. I was at City Council earlier today, and I'm pleased to tell you that they too were unanimous in their ratification of our decision. So, Deputy Chief Chaffin, congratulations. We are confident that Deputy Chaffin will continue to be focused on ensuring that Calgarians have safe and caring communities, and that he will continue to be committed to our vision of community policing and build on the service's strong community relationships, as well as drive innovations in community policing. We are confident that based on the input that we receive from extensive community engagement, that we have chosen the right leader for the right time. In regard to some of Deputy Chief Chaffin's merits and honors, I can tell you that he was appointed to the Order of Merit for Police Forces, one of the country's most important honors, and that just happened recently. And this achievement recognized the many years of service and leadership he has dedicated to the Calgary Police Service as well as the citizens of Calgary. He's also received the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal, the Federal Exemplary Service Medal, the Alberta Law Enforcement Long Service Medal, the Calgary Police Service Distinguished Service Medal, and the Calgary Police Service Chief's Award of Excellence. In addition to being a member of the Calgary Police Service Executive Committee, Deputy Chief Chaffin also sits on the Board of Directors for the Canadian Police Knowledge Network, chairs the Civil Criminal Records Check Provincial Committee, and co-chairs the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police Ethics Committee. Deputy Chaffin also has extensive experience building a strong organizational culture and developing a sense of unity across the entire Calgary Police Service. We know that his depth of experience and his approachable and collaborative nature will serve him well as he takes on his new role and guides the Calgary Police Service into the future. Roger has been described by people both outside and inside the service as a thoughtful and outstanding leader, a respected mentor, and a trusted colleague. He truly embodies the best of policing and community development. Calgary is one of the best police services in the world, one that enjoys a high level of trust and respect from the community. The Police Commission is confident that he will live up to our high expectations, and more importantly, the high expectations of Calgarians. So once again, Roger, congratulations, and I'd ask Mayor Nenshi to come up.
Well, thank you very much, Rod. It's a big day today, and I'm very pleased to be standing here with you today. First of all, I want to highlight the fact that one of the things that makes our society work, that makes our society great, is the civilian control of our police service. And our civilian control here in Calgary is operated through a remarkable group of volunteers on the Calgary Police Commission. And I want to say through you, Mr. Chair, to your commission members, thank you for doing the work you do every day in looking after this wonderful police service, but also thank you for the incredible work you've done in this search process. We stand at a time today where in many parts of North America and many parts of the Western world there is a crisis in policing, where we have police services that have lost the faith and the trust of the people who, and we do not have that in Calgary. Rod, I would take issue where you said that we are one of the very best police services in the world. I would say we are amongst the very best, if not the very best police service in the world. We have a tradition of strong leadership, strong community trust, and as a result, Calgary remains as safe or safer today than it has been in generations. That's something we're extraordinarily proud of, and I am particularly thrilled that our new leader of our Calgary Police Service, it comes from within, showing the strength and the depth of the police service as it now stands. Chief Chaffin, I'm going to say that now because it's been ratified. How does that sound? Chief Chaffin comes to us, as you've heard, with an exemplary record in policing, but even more important, with a strong vision for the future of the Calgary Police Service and the future of our community, building on something that is already great in order to make it even greater. We will continue our focus on community policing that has served us so well, on ensuring that the police remain an integral part of the community and of everything we do in the community. Many of you have heard me talk about this before. But when I think about my interactions with the police service, which I have, of course, every single day, they're exceptionally good at catching the bad guys and getting the bad guys off the street. But they're also exceptionally good at working to make sure there are no bad guys in the first place. And I tell the story all the time of my experience. I tell many stories, but one in particular of my experience with a little program called Power Play, which takes kids at risk and teaches them to play hockey. And when I get to go in the springtime at the end of the season to watch their final game, I see little girls in hijab and long dresses and little boys in baggy pants and officers in full uniform out on the ice, and truth be told, they are all lousy hockey players. The officers are probably worse than the kids. They have to do it in full uniform after all. But there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that too many of these kids come from societies in which the police are the enemy, in which the police are the instruments of an oppressive state. And it is incredibly important for them to be out on the ice with these kids, ensuring that they understand that in this community, the police have always been and will always be an integral part of building our community. The police are not only their friends, that the police are positive forces to help them live great lives. And to me, that is an incredibly important thing. I think everyone in man, civilian and sworn, in our police service understands that importance, and I look forward to that continued leadership. Incredibly happy, incredibly proud of our police service, and thrilled that Chief Chaffin is willing to take on this role. So thank you, Chief, for willing to be here, for willing to take this on, and I look forward to making this service even better. Chief, come on up.
Can you see me? First and foremost, I'd like to thank all the members of council, His Worship, and particularly the Commission for this incredible honor. It's been an interesting road to get here today. It is not an easy process. I think the time they've spent with all of us to get to this decision is humbling, to say the least. And I come here today, and you'll notice, without a speech. There are certainly lots of challenges and opportunities for us going forward, but there's an incredible amount of hope for this service going forward as well. We are left with a service who is truly the envy of probably every city in North America, and that is no small undertaking. We've gone through an evolution in policing in the city over the last many years to help us become more of an instrument of social justice as opposed to an instrument of paramilitary force. And I think that can never be lost, or the sense of that can never be lost with our community. I'm incredibly honored about the challenge of getting out back in the community now and making sure that confidence in that model will never be lost. I see no need to ever step back from that model, except we do have future challenges. We have current challenges today about the nature of public safety in this city and some of the new trends that are happening. Like other cities in Canada, we're facing it as well, and we must have a concerted mission to deal with it. There is no doubt that those represent significant challenges for our service. We also are now policing in a different economic time, and I'm really looking forward to working with the commission, with mayor and council, to make sure that our business is aligning with city priorities as well, that we have an opportunity to find every bit of public safety, but through efficiencies, through alignment with city principles, and that to me is an exciting challenge, and I believe there's lots of potential there that we can work together and not lose sight of any of our goals, whether it be social justice or public safety in general. And to that, I know you'll have lots more questions. As the commission knows, I could do this for a long time. I'm not going to. I will take the opportunity to take any questions that you'll have, and look forward. As I know you probably want to get to know me a little bit, I really look forward to getting to know every one of you as well. So we'll start that process. And
Chief, you've been with the force for a very long time, going up 30 years. What does it mean to you personally to, starting from the bottom and now to be chief? And also, when did you first start to consider this is the position that you wanted to?
you know, I've thought about that a lot the last week or so. We started policing just about 30 years ago, and nobody signs on to policing and think they're going to be the chief that day, someday. I mean, it's not something that's ever really in your mind, really. As you move up your career, you're simply doing the jobs and the roles that you've been assigned, and you've developed an immense amount of satisfaction out of this service to community. And through time, these bumps and promotions, people will probably laugh, but every promotion I've had, I've said, how did they promote me? I don't get that, how that happened. Because you just simply think you're doing your job, and eventually we find ourselves here. So as we got to this particular competition, honestly, when you got promoted to a deputy, that should be first and foremost in your mind, that you're preparing yourself on the day the chief steps down, that you could be one of the voices coming forward. But still, you're serving your chief. You're busy serving your chief and making sure that the goals of the service are being met, and you're making sure the commission's goals are being met. And it wasn't until the chief stepped down where it really started to sink in that this is time for some real sober thought about stepping forward and having something to say about the future of policing in this city. So long-winded answer saying, geez, it came up pretty fast. So, I mean, it seemed like it did anyways. I'm sorry, the which? Oh, that's funny you notice it. That's my old partner from my robbery days. It's this is Detective Bellion. He passed away years ago, and I just keep it to remind me of. Just he just suffered from some health problems, and it was a. That's an easier question. I'll get back to you on that soon. We have particularly challenging issues today. So, I mean, I don't have time really to, I actually have the luxury of not having to reintroduce myself to the organization and reintroduce myself to my senior staff. So we have the ability to get to work very quickly on our particular emerging issues today. As you're all aware of, our fentanyl challenges, our challenges around gang and gang violence in the city are things that are happening today. Like right now, as we're talking here, we're having big challenges. That's something I'm pretty anxious to get to the table with starting tomorrow. We're getting to the table with a concerted effort plan to start dealing with that. I mean, I'll rest assured we will double down on this idea that gang violence and these threats to our community will not go unchallenged and unnoticed. And then beyond that, my next set of ideas beyond that, it's going to have to do with this, when I talked about earlier about this idea that we have to sort of realign ourselves. We're a big piece. We're a big piece of the city economy. We represent a large chunk of what it takes to run a major city like this, and I do think it's one of the things that really stokes me in terms of a challenge is being able to look at our model and being able to figure out how we do this better, how we do it more effectively, how we sort of take our economic footprint and make it as value added as possible without undue burdens to the rest of our city economy. I think that's a terrific challenge given how many moving parts we have, but I'm really looking forward to that. I think there's some opportunities there that I need to sit down with my senior staff about and really look at to say, let's not park any instance of public safety, but let's also look at ourselves and see, can we do this better? Can we be more innovative? Can we utilize technologies to help us do things that perhaps have been sort of burdened by manpower in the past? What's out there, and I know they're out there because I've worked on them already. There's lots of opportunities for us to do things better. I was telling the commission when we were talking earlier about there are little things that people perhaps don't notice, but there are technologies out there that make us faster, make us smarter, to take fewer people to do better work in an earlier instance is something that we have to look at. How do we do that in a way that we can put the information in people's hands so they can make decisions today about things it's pointless in policing to learn something about what you could have today that you did 2 weeks ago. We need to know information today. There's a really good adage I saw from a technology commercial that nobody crosses the street with information that's 5 minutes old. Policing has to follow more of that line. You need to have information today to make decisions today so we get it right early and then move on. So.
Chief, kind of touched on it in your answer just there, but obviously 22 homicides this year so far. Can you just kind of touch on what you're going to try to do try to combat that issue?
Well, I mean, to combat homicides, unfortunately, it's largely a large piece of that has to do with particular gang violence. That to me is the one I can really sort of step in front of. We have an amazing organizational capacity now with a real-time operations center, with a coordinated effort brings all our resources to be focused, be intelligence-led. We have a particularly interesting and robust intelligence model now. So take that intelligence, take decision-making from a centralized operations piece, and start attacking this systemically. We know that worked before. We did this when we had there were gang problems in the past. These are those cases where really, really specific targeted enforcement means something. You have to find these right people, target and make sure that they're before the justice system with really meaningful prosecutions, really professional, quality-assured police work, and get these people put away so they don't cause any more risk or any more danger to themselves or the rest of the public. And they are a danger to themselves and the public. So.
Anyone else?
How have things changed over the years in policing when you first started? What happens today, what happens now? How much do things change?
Well, you know what? I was just thinking about that because I've looked after all of our recruits for many years and seen the challenges. What's different between now and then is it's amazing the effect of technology and accountability puts on our officers these days. All of us can imagine a time where you are simply being recorded with every step you take, and then with everything you say and every step you take is somehow either through our own devices or the devices of the public. What that does to your sense of your sense of candor, your sense of the ability to make a mistake, all that's being guarded and measured continually. And that, although that's really important in terms of public accountability, but it puts pressures on these officers to come to work every day knowing that's the pressure you're going to be dealing with. And it's something that's important to me to make sure we put the supports in place for those people to know that that kind of pressure creates health problems or can create health problems. It can create consequences. We know our Road to Mental Readiness program largely helps to start pick up some of these ideas that our people work in a highly accountable environment, but that brings the need to make sure we're aware of the consequences of that they have the proper rest, they have the proper training, they have the proper contact with the organization, make sure they know they can speak up when things are starting to fall off for them. And that's the difference. I think that's, to me, is the big difference. There's signs in our offices as you leave from a district that says, drive as if everybody's watching you. Well, that couldn't be any further from the truth anymore, because drive exists as if everything you do is being taped and recorded and is going to end up on YouTube, is really that sign should say. And that's a challenge. That's a definite, when we look at hiring people, hiring the right people, getting those people out in the street, you have to help them through that environment. So that's probably one of the biggest changes I've noticed.
So getting back to your partner.
Yeah, I'm better now. So
Maybe say,
it took me a while, but
yeah.
he'd laugh, because we just worked together in robbery, and he was one of those guys. He had that sort of amazing bluntness about him that he used to always challenge me about stuff, and I just liked that about him. You know, that ability to speak candidly and be clear and drop political correctness to, you know, make sure we were doing the right things. And I've always liked that about him. So. Every time you get your head too big, look at the picture. Every time I put that hat on, I look at that picture. So.
Well, thanks everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Thank
We're
you.
off to a great new chapter. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.